So I've recently gotten a lot of new people on my channel, and if you're one of them, welcome. A lot of my older videos have some absolutely incredible recipes, especially some classic Southern side dishes. So for this video, I wanted to go back and show you my top 5 Keto Southern side dishes that you're gonna love. From this beautiful mac and cheese, to a delicious green bean casserole, to some keto cornbread with a surprising ingredient that makes it taste just like cornbread, to a broccoli salad that's absolutely delicious even if you don't like broccoli, to my mashed potato recipe that does not use cauliflower, and you'll never guess what's in it. So I want to take you back through time through some of my older videos that have some absolutely delicious recipes right after this. If you are new to my channel, my name's Victor with Southern Keto, and I show you how to make recipes that you love, keto and low carb, so that you don't have to go without your favorite foods. So we're gonna get into my top 5 Southern Keto side dishes, and I'm gonna put the links to all those videos down below so you can go check them out and find all the recipes to which ones you like. And you can go back and see some old videos, some of them from when I first got started, but the recipes are awesome. Most of these are based on old family recipes that I simply did not want to give up when I started back doing keto and low carb. I've lost over 75 pounds and reversed a ton of health conditions eating these kind of foods. So when people tell you that it can't be done, everybody's different, but for a lot of people, you can eat foods like this and still get the results that you want. So let's get right into this. The first recipe I want to show you is my Nana's 100-year-old mac and cheese recipe, and the secret ingredient that makes it macaroni and cheese. Check this out. Are you looking to make a low-carb mac and cheese that doesn't contain cauliflower or some other weird ingredients? If you want the real deal, you've come to the right place. Stick around. There's plenty of recipes out there that are substitutes for mac and cheese. One of the most popular ones is the cauliflower mac and cheese, but it's not cauliflower mac and cheese. It's cauliflower and cheese, and I've got a great recipe for that too, but this ain't it. I've taken my Nana's 100-year-old mac and cheese recipe and modified it to make it keto. Now this mac and cheese recipe is not dripping and oozing with cheese. This is a traditional Southern mac and cheese. But stick around to the end of this video, and if you're wanting one that is oozing and dripping with cheese, I'm going to tell you exactly what it is and when you can look for it. So let me get the ingredients together and let's get cooking. This is what we're going to need to make this keto mac and cheese. You're going to need some butter, and the ingredients on this recipe are very important. Get the best that you can because there's very few ingredients. So all the flavors are really going to come out. The better the ingredients, the better the flavors. You're going to need a couple eggs, and these are local pasture-raised eggs. They're going to have a bright orange yolk, a ton of nutrition, and a ton of flavor. You're going to need extra sharp cheddar cheese. This is very important that you get this extra sharp kind because of the flavor you're going to need to bring out of this. Now my Nana did not put salt or pepper when she wrote down this recipe because they always do it to taste. So I tried to put the amounts that I think you're going to need, but make sure you taste it and see what you think. You're going to need some pepper and then paprika. She always sprinkled the top with this paprika, so it made it look really nice. Also gave it a little bit of flavor. And of course you're going to need some heavy cream. Oh, and I almost forgot the star of the show. Let's go over and grab this box and let me show you my secret ingredient that helps make this low carb without having to eat cauliflower and pretend that it's macaroni. Let's do some real macaroni, y'all. This is the box that contains the secret to my low carb keto mac and cheese. We should see what's in it. Let me show you these noodles. They're from the Great Low Carb Bread Company. They have a ton of different products, from their pastas to pizza crust, cookies, muffins. They have a lot. This one has 7 grams of net carbs per serving, which is a quarter of this macaroni and cheese. So these are delicious. I will put a link down below so you can order these. you'll be able to get them before Thanksgiving. They've told me that their lead time is really good. They know this time of year people are going to be wanting to make macaroni and cheese. Order some of these and try it out for yourself. I've tried a lot of these, and this is definitely my favorite. It's a real legit macaroni noodle. So let me go ahead and prep all these ingredients, and I'm going to show you how to put this awesome 100-year-old mac and cheese recipe turned keto together. I'm going to post a picture of her original recipe somewhere in this video so you can see the recipe in her writing. Anytime I saw something with that handwriting on it, I knew it was going to be good, whether it was a recipe or if she sent me a card. I really miss her a lot, but hopefully she's looking down and it'll make her proud that I'm sharing her recipe with so many people. The modifications I had to make was her original recipe called for margarine, and of course I'm using butter. And instead of the evaporated milk, which has got a lot of carbs, I'm using heavy cream. Now what I'm going to use to put this in today is about a 9.5 inch pie plate. Ideally you want to use a 9x9 square for this one. And I'm going to put in the description a recipe to double it, or you would use a 9x13 casserole dish. Nana used to call this macaroni pie. Today it's actually going to look like a pie. Y'all leave me a comment if you've ever heard anybody call it macaroni pie before. But I'm just going to spray it down with some avocado oil, and I'm going to go over to the stove and start cooking my pasta to the package directions. Once your water comes to a rapid boil like this, we're going to pour in this macaroni. And you're going to want to stir this up a few times during this process. It's going to take about 11 minutes. It cooks a little bit longer than normal pasta because of the amount of protein in it. So just check it after about 10, see how it's doing, but I think 11 is a perfect time to boil this. And just give it a little stir every once in a while. You don't want this to stick together. And what you're looking for is you want it to be al dente. So when you take one out to try it, you want it to have a little bit of bite to it. You don't want it to be mushy and falling apart. So we'll check back after a few minutes and see how it's looking. Okay, so 11 minutes was perfect. I'm going to take this over to the sink and drain it. We'll let it sit there and drain just for a minute. Look at that. That's not cauliflower. That's the real deal noodles right there. Check that out. We'll come back and put it together. What we're going to do first is add in about half of this pasta into our pie pan, because we're making macaroni pie. Just going to kind of get that out like that. And I'm going to mix together the eggs, the milk, and the water. Go ahead and stir that up a little bit. And what I'm going to do, I melted this butter. It's a little hot, so I'm going to pour a little bit at a time in here just to cool it off a little bit. And then we'll put that to the side. We'll go ahead and dump in the spices into here as well. And all that is salt and pepper. The flavors of the ingredients really need to shine through. That's why I like this pasta so much. So we're going to take half of this cheese and sprinkle it all over here. And get that nice and even. And then we're going to take the other half and pour on just like that. Now I've preheated my oven to 400 degrees. That's what it's going to cook at. I'm going to put the rest of this cheese on there. And yeah, make sure you use a fresh block of cheese and grate it like this. That way you don't have those anti-caking agents in there. So what I'm going to do now is just combine all this together. We're just going to take this mixture and pour it all the way in like that. So I've got everything in there. I'm just going to sprinkle the top with paprika. We're going to put it in a 400 degree oven for 30 minutes. And I'm going to show you what it looks like when it's done. We'll be right back. Hey, so lean in real close for this one. Next week, I'm doing some Cracker Barrel ooey gooey mac and cheese. So if you like a ton of cheese on it, that's your jam. All right, so this is done. I'm gonna pull this out. Wow, look at that. So let's try it out. So let me go right in here and get this little bit. That looks delicious. See that crust right there? That's what you want on this traditional Southern mac and cheese. So let's try Nana's mac and cheese. Oh man. That's some traditional Southern mac and cheese. It is so good. That's the way to make mac and cheese. That's the real deal. It's healthy, it's low carb. And if you're looking for other ideas of side dishes to put with this, I'm going to leave a link to my playlist right up here. It's all my Thanksgiving sides. Check those out and you'll have some great ideas. You'll be able to put together a full Thanksgiving dinner. Now, if you try that mac and cheese and love it, make sure and leave me a comment down there and let me know. Nana would be real happy that somebody used that recipe. And it is a lot healthier than what they did back then. The next recipe is a green bean casserole, and it's good year-round, not just for holiday gatherings and things, although a lot of people will have it around the holidays. It's good year-round. If you can find green beans, you can do this green bean casserole. Watch this. One of my favorite side dishes is green bean casserole. Man, what a treat. And I figured out a way that if you're keto or low carb, you can have your casserole and eat it too. Stick around. So a traditional green bean casserole has all kind of ingredients. One being the crispy onions on top, the Campbell's condensed cream of mushroom soup. I'm going to show you how to make all those, and we'll make it real simple and easy so that you can make a green bean casserole and enjoy one of the best side dishes out there. The green bean casserole is creamy, cheesy, and absolutely delicious. You're going to want to make this again and again. And you can without any guilt because it's low carb and keto friendly. And you're going to want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Here are the ingredients you're going to need to put together this keto green bean casserole. You're going to need some green beans. This is a 12-ounce package. You're going to need some sharp cheddar cheese. I love this extra sharp cheddar for this recipe, but at least a sharp. You're going to need some of my keto condensed cream of mushroom soup, and I'll put a card up in the right corner and I'll leave a link for the video in the description so you know how to make it. You're going to need some heavy cream, some liquid aminos, and I don't do soy as a general rule, but for this we're only putting a teaspoon in. If you don't like to use soy at all, use some coconut aminos. You're going to need some seasoning salt, and you're going to need some pepper. And you're going to need some of these keto Funyuns. And I'll put a card up in the corner that you can click on, or I'll put a link down in the description so you find out how to make these. I'm going to go ahead and put everything together, measure out all the ingredients, and I'll be right back and show you how to put this together. And to my favorite mixing bowl, I've added the condensed cream of mushroom soup. I added in the liquid aminos and I added in the heavy cream. I'm going to go ahead and add in the green beans. Now the way I cook these, it's in the microwave bag, so I cook it to about 3/4 of the amount of time that it says to cook it on the bag, because you don't want them mushy. You want them still a little bit crispy because they're going to bake in the oven. Now I'm going to go ahead and dump in my seasonings. Now, it doesn't seem like a lot of seasonings, but remember there's a ton of flavor in that condensed cream of mushroom soup. So I'm just going to give this a stir, combine it well, and I'm going to put it in either 2 of these 8x8 cake pans or a 9x13 casserole dish, and then we're going to put it in the oven. Before I put this second bag of green beans in, I just want to point out that you want to make sure they're drained really well. You don't want a whole lot of excess liquid in there. Go ahead and put those in and give it a good stir. Hey, if you're liking this video and you want to see more like it, look right down here, click this subscribe button and hit the bell icon, and it'll let you know as soon as I put out another video. I've evenly divided these between these 2 8x8 cake pans. You can use a 9x13 casserole dish also, but I'm going to freeze one. But all I'm going to do now is top this with cheese, and it's ready to go in the oven. I'll show you what they look like when they're done. So this is ready to go in the oven. Because it's in a smaller pan, I'm gonna put it in there for about 25 minutes, just until that cheese gets nice and bubbly and brown. I'll probably add a little more cheese, and if you want to add more cheese than this, you can too. So when there's 5 minutes left to cook, I'm going to take these crispy Funyun breadcrumbs, crumble them up right on top. I'm going to cover this whole thing to give it a nice crispy topping. We'll put it back in for 5 more minutes. I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. So this is what it looks like when it's finished. So I'm going to put this on the plate, put some sides with it. We're going to have a good meal with this. I hope you make this recipe and enjoy it. Now, one of the best Southern sides is cornbread. But how in the world can you make cornbread without corn? Well, check this recipe out. And again, it's got another ingredient that you may not think of that gives it a great corn flavor. So it's a little corny, but it's delicious. Do you want to make a cornbread that is both delicious and low carb and keto friendly? I'm going to show you how. This is Victor from Your Best Body Blueprint, where we make your favorite foods healthier. Now I know what you're saying, Victor. There's no way you can make a cornbread that is both keto, low carb, and tastes like cornbread. I'm going to show you my secret ingredient that I use to make this taste just as delicious as the traditional cornbread. But let's get right into this. Let me show you the ingredients you need to put this together. We're going to need 5 eggs. We're going to need some sweetener of your choice. I like this Splenda Magic Baker Blend. You're going to need some almond flour. You're going to need some coconut flour. You're going to need some butter. You're going to need some baking powder. You're going to need some salt. And I like this Redmond's Real Salt or Pink Himalayan salt. And here's the secret ingredient: cornbread extract. And then you're going to want an 8-inch cast iron skillet. I'll leave a link to one of my favorites below. So if you don't have one, you can. Let me show you how to put this together and we'll start cooking it. So the first thing I'm going to do is just take some bacon grease and I'm going to coat the inside of this skillet. So now I'm going to preheat the oven to 350. I'm going to put this cast iron skillet in here. It's coated with the bacon grease. Let me combine all this and we will start cooking. So what I'm going to do now is whisk in all my wet ingredients. So I'm going to mix the eggs in. I'm going to mix in the melted butter. And I'm going to mix in the corn extract. So let's mix all this together really well and we'll be right back. Now I'm just going to whisk in all the dry ingredients, the sweetener, the baking powder, and the salt. Then we'll put in the almond flour and coconut flour. We're going to whisk this together until it all comes together to a dough. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Now this is pretty thick, so I'm just going to mix in about 2 tablespoons of water. Mix it up again until it comes to a proper consistency. And then just add some water until it's about this consistency. We're going to put it in the cast iron skillet and I'll show you how it comes out. Now if you like traditional Southern side dishes, but you didn't think you could have them keto or low carb, and you're not subscribed to my channel, click the little button right down there that lit up for you and the bell beside it, and anytime I make a new side dish video or any other video, you'll know about it. We'll just spread it out like this, put it in the oven for 350 for 20 minutes, and we'll check it after that. So after 20 minutes, it still needs probably another 3 to 4 minutes. So after 5 more minutes, that's what it looks like. We're going to let it sit for about 10 minutes and cool, and then we'll cut it. All right, so this is cooled for about 10 minutes. I'm going to just cut a little slice here, put it on the plate. And tonight we're going to serve this with some pork chops, gravy, and some green beans. If you have non-keto people coming over, I invite you to try this out on them, and I bet you they won't be able to taste the difference. This keto cornbread is a delicious addition to any meal, and I also use it in another one of my favorite recipes that you need to check out right over here. So if you're keto or low carb, did you think you could still do cornbread? Well, I hope you know now that you can. This next recipe is a Southern broccoli salad. Now, my wife is not a broccoli lover, but she absolutely loves this salad. And I don't think it's the broccoli so much. It's the things that complement the broccoli, change the flavor of it, and it just makes it a delicious, crunchy side dish that you should definitely check out, even if you don't like broccoli. Are you looking for a great keto side? Do you absolutely hate broccoli, and there's no way you're ever gonna like it? I would challenge you to give this recipe a shot if that's the case, because it might just change the way you think about broccoli forever. Stick around. Now, if this is how you feel about broccoli, I want to change your mind. My wife has hated broccoli all her life. And I'm pretty sure after we've talked about it several times, it's because it was all mushy, overcooked, with a nasty processed cheese sauce that was just terrible. But anyway, since I've made this recipe, she really likes it. It's a great keto side, a good way to get some vegetables if you don't like vegetables, because of the creamy sauce on it, the little bit of sweetness, and the delicious crunch that goes good with so many keto dishes. Well, let me know what you think about this after you make it. I really love hearing your comments. So let's get in the kitchen, and I'll show you what ingredients you're going to need to put together this delicious, crunchy broccoli salad. So the first thing you're going to need to put together this broccoli salad is some broccoli. And I've got 3 crowns of broccoli here. Make sure you get the fresh kind. The frozen is not going to work. You're going to need some bacon. This is my favorite kind from Aldi. I feel like it just crisps up the best. You're going to need some of my Duke's mayonnaise, either the regular Duke's, or in this one I use my Duke's spreadable bacon mayonnaise because I feel like that gave it a little extra bacon flavor. You're going to need some pine nuts. Now, if you don't have pine nuts, you can also substitute almonds. You just want to chop them up pretty small like that because you just want a little bit of crunch. And nuts for some people just don't work, so if you can't have them, don't use them. You're going to need some of this Splenda Magic Baker Blend. This is just for a little touch of sweetness. This is my favorite sweetener by far. And you're going to need some cheese. Now, I use this extra sharp cheddar cheese. That's the traditional Southern way to do it. We love this extra sharp cheddar. You're going to need some sour cream. This is by far my favorite brand because it's super affordable if I don't go to Aldi. Just make sure you get the full fat kind. You're going to need some white wine vinegar. And we're going to need to season this. I'm going to use Redmond's Real Salt or Pink Himalayan. You're going to need some black pepper, and you can either grind it fresh or just take it right out of the container like this. If you can't have it, you can leave it out. So those are all the ingredients we're going to need. Now I'm going to show you how to put together this delicious Southern style broccoli salad right after this. So the first thing you want to do with your broccoli is just cut it into bite-sized pieces. Now remember, this is going in a salad, so we don't want huge pieces. You just want a little bit fork-sized, piece. So cut them about like that and just go through and work them all out. And then you could use the other part of the broccoli if you want to make a vegetable stock or something like that, or just toss it or compost it. And then after you've got them all cut off the crown like that, just go ahead and throw them right in your favorite bowl. Y'all know what mine is. Some people say that broccoli causes bloating for them, so don't worry. I'll be coming out with some non-broccoli recipes soon. If you want to see more keto side dishes, make sure you subscribe to the channel and I'll make sure that you see a lot more of them. Now the next thing we got to do is prepare our bacon. So a lot of people have asked me if I like more expensive brands, but I have really found that this cheap premium hardwood smoked bacon from Aldi is the best. It crisps up right, it always cooks right, never have a bad batch. We're going to cook this bacon real simple and easy, but the first thing we got to do is dice it up into small pieces. But don't worry, you're not going to have to use a pot. You're not going to splatter grease all over the place. I'm going to show you the easiest way to do this with no mess. And now I've got to grate this cheddar cheese. Now somebody leave me a comment down below and tell me why that I would grate my own instead of just buying it already shredded in the store. Let me know. Now that my cheese is grated, it's time to deal with this bacon. So you can not only put full strips of bacon in this microwave bacon grill, but you can also cook it cubed or cook little chips or whatever you want to do with it. This thing works great for everything. I'll put a link in the description in case you don't have one. And speaking of tools, this is my absolute favorite kitchen gadget, the chopper. I'm going to chop this red onion. I'm pretty sure I forgot to tell you that you needed red onion for this recipe, but you need red onion for this recipe. And that's what it should look like right there. So your broccoli is already in your favorite bowl. One day my sister-in-law is going to kill me for this, but hey, if she never watches my videos, she'll never know, right? So anyway, I'm going to put the cheese in now. We're going to go in with a few of these ingredients. Now I'm going to go in with the pine nuts. And like I said, if you don't have pine nuts, just use almonds. Chop them up really, really small. You just want a little bit of extra crunch in there. You could use another nut. Macadamia is a good one also. Just chop them up small. And then add in that red onion that I forgot to tell you about to begin with, because that's going to add a little bit of spiciness. And you just saw me add in the bacon, so add it in, stir that up really, really well, and let's go on to the next step. So we're going to take that spreadable bacon grease mayonnaise and go ahead and add in the sour cream. And we're going to combine this together, but before we do, we can go ahead and season it. So go ahead and put in your salt and pepper and combine it really well together. And then the next thing to do is put in that white wine vinegar. That's the good stuff. And that's a little secret to this to really bring out the flavor. And then go ahead and whisk it in really, really well. Make sure it's well combined before we go to our next step. Now you tell me right now, does this look happy or not happy? It looks pretty happy in there, but I think it could be a little bit better. What can we do to make it better? Let's go ahead and add in that dressing. Oh, that's the good stuff. That's the secret to this. That's what's going to give it its delicious taste. That's how you're going to make people that don't like broccoli like broccoli. That's our secret in the South. Now you know it. And now there ain't nothing to it but to do it. So I hope you enjoy this. It's the most delicious thing you'll ever have. And people that don't like broccoli, I believe will like broccoli after they try this. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think in the comments. So mashed potatoes, keto and low carb. What is it mostly? Cauliflower, right? Well, to me, trying to make mashed potatoes out of cauliflower is just mashed cauliflower, right? I mean, you can put all the cream and butter and salt you want in there, but you still got that cauliflower flavor. And don't get me wrong, it's delicious. I love a good mashed cauliflower with some cheese in it and everything, but I think this one is closer to mashed potatoes. If you haven't tried this yet, it is awesome. And I'll show you what I use to make it taste like potatoes as well. This goes good with some of my gravy recipes, and I'll put a link to one of those right up here. I've got a white gravy recipe and a brown gravy recipe, so you can try whichever one you like. Or you can just have them plain, just like this. What do you miss the most on keto? If the answer is potatoes, you've come to the right place. In this video, I'm going to show you how I make keto mashed potatoes. And don't worry, you're not using cauliflower. You're not going to be in the kitchen for 3 hours mixing all sorts of powders and other things together to get mashed potatoes. And you're definitely not going to use potatoes because there's no quicker way to derail your keto journey than eat a bunch of mashed potatoes. But you can eat these, feel good about them, and ditch the guilt with these keto mashed potatoes. I've got a secret ingredient that I use that I'm going to show you in this video that will fool everybody. Nobody's going to be able to tell the difference between these and regular mashed potatoes. And I'm going to show you 2 versions of these. One, a more rustic version, and one, the perfect mashed potato, only keto and low carb. So stick around, let's get our tater on, and let's get into it right after this. So there's a lot of great keto side dishes. I have recipes for a lot of them, but this one is one of my favorites. Because any restaurant you go to, or anybody's house you go to, there's always mashed potatoes. And they're so delicious. And now you can have them without the carbs. This goes great with meatloaf, steak, chicken, fish. Basically, it goes great with everything. And if you've got some family members that are just kind of up in the air about keto and I'd like to try it, but let them try this and see what they think and let me know. So let's get right into it. I'm gonna show you the ingredients you need to put together these keto mashed potatoes. So let's start by making the rustic version of this first. This reminds me of some red skin mashed potatoes, super delicious. The first thing you're gonna need to do is fill up a pot with some water. You're gonna need to get that on the stove on high heat so we can boil that piece quick. Now you're gonna need a stick of butter. You're gonna need some heavy whipping cream. You'll need some pepper, I like fresh cracked, and some salt, either pink Himalayan or Redmond's, whichever you prefer. You're also going to need some sour cream, and I'm going to use my secret ingredient in the next version of these, but the vegetable you're going to use is radishes. Now this is how I like to prepare these beautiful radishes. We're just going to chop off that little root like that and chop off the greenery. Now for this one we're leaving it rustic, so that red skin's really going to look good in there. So the easiest way that I've found to prepare these is just cut them in half. Now you can cut them into quarters if you want, but to me it seemed a whole lot easier just to cut them in half, and they cooked in the same amount of time. And I've tried them both ways. So after you've got them all cut in half, you're just going to dump them into the boiling water. Pick up any that you dropped trying to be fancy, and then we're just going to set a timer for 10 minutes. Now it's time to use a tool that since I started keto I have not used a lot at all until now. This is my potato masher, the best one I've found, and it's going to go through these radishes really easy. So after the radishes have finished boiling for 10 minutes, we're going to take them out, take them over to the sink, and give them a good drain. After they're pretty well drained, we're going to put them back in the pot. I'm going back over to the stove with them and cook them again just for a few minutes to get rid of all this excess moisture. Now you don't have to do this if you like a little bit thinner mashed potato, but it really helps a lot if you want a nice thick creamy consistency to do this step. So after you got that excess moisture out, we're going to go in with some of that nice butter and then put it back on the heat. We're going to let that butter melt down, and I'm going to help it out just a little bit with my spoon. And if that's not working fast enough, out comes the potato masher. I'm going to mash these radishes up proper, and then we'll move on to the next step. So this is what it should look like once it's nice and mashed. Now if you want it a little bit drier, you can cook it a little longer, but I like to go in at this point and just add in my heavy cream. And then after that, it's time to go in with the sour cream. So I'll add that in now. Then I'm going to give it a good stir until it looks like this. I'm boiling it down just a little more and adding in the pepper at the same time. So I want it just a little bit drier. So then after you got all the pepper in there that you think you want, it's time to go in with the salt. And make sure you mix it up really well. And I've said it's rustic. It kind of reminds me of the red mashed potatoes, although it's more of a pinkish tint. Once you boil those radishes like that, it tends to lose a little bit of that red color. Now just let it boil for a few more minutes, and I'll go in and get the texture I want with that potato masher. On the next version I'm going to make, which is coming up right after this, I'm going to use an immersion blender. You can use it on this one as well if you want a little bit creamier texture, and it goes great served with my meatloaf. And if you haven't tried that recipe yet, I'm going to leave a link up above and in the description so you can make this delicious meatloaf. You will absolutely love it. Now let's just get into these good old country mashed potatoes. You're going to need some butter. You're going to need some heavy cream. You're going to need some pink Himalayan salt or Redmond's, either way is fine. And some pepper, very similar to the other recipe. You're going to need your radishes, and the secret ingredient that gives it the flavor exactly like mashed potatoes is this mashed potato flavor concentrate. I'll leave a link down below so you can order it. It's a game changer. You're going to need an immersion blender for this one. And like I said, you could use it on the last one too if you want those to be a little bit creamier and less rustic. First thing we got to do here is prepare these radishes. So I'm using a slightly different method to prepare these. Man, look at how good those radishes look. And once you eat them, you're going to know they're delicious. For these, I'm going to peel these radishes because I want the white color. I want it to look just like and taste just like homemade mashed potatoes. So that's what I'm going to do. Now when you're peeling these, they don't have to be absolutely perfect. Once they're boiling, it's going to get rid of a little bit of that red, but try to get as much red off as you can, and you can even touch them up in just a little bit. Now it does take a little bit of time to peel all these radishes. I'm not going to lie about it. YouTube makes it look easy, but it does take a little time. But if you want those perfect mashed potatoes, you're trying to trick somebody, or you just want that nice look on the plate, this is the way to do it. So just gather up all the radishes. We're going to go over to the sink. We're going to rinse them really, really well. Make sure and get off all the little red parts that you can. You may need to go back in and redo some of them as well. Get some water boiling on high heat. And while that water is coming to a boil, that's when I'm going to cut all these in half. You can do quarters like I said on the earlier video, but it really does just fine cutting them in half. And once you've got them all chopped in half, we're going to gather them up because they're on their way to their final destination. Well, almost the final destination. Final destination is when you eat them. We'll move them into our pot of boiling water, and I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit of salt to the water just to help it along, all the seasoning it can get. We're going to go in and cook them until they're fork tender. And you can try to wrestle with them like that until you finally get one. Or much more easily, you can just fish one out and take it right out of the pot and put it on your countertop and try it that way. It's a little bit easier. And when your fork goes into it easily just like that, then you know that they're done and we're ready to go on to the next step. While these are hanging out and draining, just add some butter in. I'm going to use a whole stick because I like them buttery, and just melt that down. And you can always help it along with a spoon or whatever you got that you want to use. And once that butter is melted down good like that, we'll go ahead and add these radishes right on in. Now it's time to help them along get mashed. So I'm going to take this underutilized potato masher and throw it in the pot and mash these down nice and proper. Now we're going to use that immersion blender that I talked about, but I just like to do this to help break them down a little bit, get that butter in there really nice and get all those flavors together. Now it's time to season them with the black pepper. Then we're going to go in with the salt. And then add in the secret ingredient, the mashed potato extract. And we'll keep mashing it up and getting all these flavors right until you're happy with it. Now it's time to add in that heavy cream, and we'll break out the immersion blender. This is what's going to get it down to that mashed potato texture. And if you like it a little bit more creamy than what I do, I like to leave just a few chunks in mine. Then you can immersion blend it for as long as you want, or throw it in a high-speed blender. Either way will work fine to get the results that you want. And now comes the best part of the entire recipe. Now it's made, I can pour them into a bowl, and I'm going to eat these right alongside my meatloaf. But eat it alongside anything that you want. It is great with just about any dish. Anything you'd have mashed potatoes with, this is going to work perfectly and you're going to love it. So those are my top 5 keto southern side dish recipes. Most of them are old family favorites, and hopefully they'll be your favorites too. Thanks for sharing these videos and commenting. I respond to every single comment, good or bad. And if you're new here, welcome to the channel. And if you're not new here, welcome back. And I'll see you on the next video.